Chosen one, what you're experiencing is not an accident. If you're here, it's because you're entering a period of significant transformation, a spiritual turning point designed to move you toward your higher calling. This is not a dramatic claim, but a structured process of transition, growth, and alignment. It may feel uncomfortable, especially as it often begins with loss. But in this context, loss is not the end. It is a deliberate act of removal, an essential first step in divine preparation, in spiritual development. There are moments when certain individuals, relationships, or patterns must leave your life. These removals are not always easy to accept. They can be deeply personal and even painful. However, they are often a necessary part of spiritual elevation. The person being removed may have played an important role in your life, perhaps even for many years. But if their presence no longer aligns with your purpose or growth, their continued proximity may prevent your evolution. In many cases, these departures are tied to what could be described as spiritual interference relationships that disrupt peace, consume energy, or distract from your internal compass. While they may not always appear toxic on the surface, their effect can lead to confusion, stagnation, or emotional fatigue. The removal of such influences may be difficult, but it is often a sign of spiritual progress. It reflects a shift in priorities, values, and alignment with your future purpose. It's important to understand that these changes are intentional. When someone is removed from your life, it's not because you failed or because they were inherently bad. It's because the relationship, in its current form, has completed its purpose. Continuing to hold on can delay the arrival of people and experiences that are more aligned with your current spiritual state. In this phase, you are being positioned for clarity. What previously clouded your vision is being cleared away. The removal of individuals or attachments can often feel abrupt, but this shift is rarely random. It's usually part of a larger plan. The purpose is to make space mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for what is about to arrive. It's also essential to shift the way you interpret these transitions. Rather than viewing them as punishment or abandonment, consider them as signs of preparation. When a season ends, it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. You are not being left behind. You are being moved forward, even if the process feels unfamiliar. This transformation isn't purely emotional or mental, it's also energetic. In spiritual terms, the energy you carry begins to shift when you elevate in awareness. People who once felt compatible may begin to feel distant. Conversations that used to feel meaningful may feel draining. Environments that once inspired you may now feel restrictive. These are all indicators that your inner life is changing, and your external reality is adjusting in response. During this time, it's not uncommon to feel unsettled. The departure of a familiar presence can create a temporary void, but it is within that space that healing and new alignment occur. The stillness that follows is not empty, it is fertile. It's the groundwork for peace, clarity, and future growth. May also notice that what once satisfied you no longer does. This includes not just relationships, but habits, goals, and identities. Spiritual elevation often brings with it a complete reassessment of values. You are being called not just to remove what's no longer aligned, but to replace it with new practices, environments, and connections that support your higher self. This process is not without discomfort, but that discomfort is part of the recalibration. Just like muscle growth requires tension and strain, spiritual growth often involves letting go before building anew. The pain of release is temporary. The rewards of realignment, however, are lasting. In addition to personal loss, you may encounter emotional resistance. Grief, confusion, or nostalgia are all common responses. But as those feelings surface, they serve a purpose: to show you what needs healing. These emotions are not signs of weakness. They are opportunities for reflection, and clarity. You are not being asked to erase your past, only to release its hold on your future. Every connection you've had contributed something valuable. Even relationships that ended painfully may have carried important lessons about boundaries, self-worth, or discernment. The point is not to forget, but to understand, and then move forward with wisdom. One of the most significant shifts that occurs during spiritual elevation is the change in your sense of identity. The removal of people or dynamics often strips away parts of your self-image that were tied to them. You may begin to question who you are without those connections. This is a crucial phase, an invitation to rebuild your identity based on internal guidance, rather than external validation. In this space, solitude becomes a tool for recalibration. Moments of stillness help you hear your own thoughts more clearly. They allow you to process the emotional weight of change and develop a renewed understanding of your values and direction. Solitude is not the same as isolation. It is a strategic withdrawal to reconnect with your purpose. This withdrawal phase should also be seen as a time for renewal. As certain energies exit your life, new energy becomes available. You begin to attract experiences and individuals that are more aligned with your transformed state. These new relationships are not necessarily replacements for the old. Rather, they serve a different purpose to support your growth, not hold it back. When you begin to notice new clarity in your thoughts, greater stability in your emotions, or increased focus in your actions, these are signs that your internal world is stabilizing. And as your internal world changes, so too will your external one. You'll begin to see tangible shifts, new opportunities, new people, and new paths opening up that reflect your new alignment. You may also notice that your definition of success changes. What once felt like achievement may now feel empty. And what once felt small may now feel deeply fulfilling. This realignment of values is part of the transformation. You're moving from external measures of worth to internal states of fulfillment. This is also where a new level of discernment becomes necessary. With spiritual elevation comes increased responsibility. Not every opportunity is meant to be pursued. Not every connection is meant to be restored. Learning to distinguish between distraction and direction is key to maintaining your alignment. Part of this discernment is recognizing that not everyone can accompany you into your next chapter. Some people were only meant to be part of the foundation, not the full structure. Trying to carry them forward can slow your progress or even destabilize your growth. Releasing them is not a rejection, it's a recognition of purpose. It's also important to let go of the expectation that everyone will understand your journey. Some people may resist your growth because it challenges their comfort. Others may misinterpret your withdrawal as rejection. But clarity often creates contrast. The more you align with your purpose, the more visible the contrast becomes. You are not responsible for others' reactions to your transformation. You are responsible for staying true to the direction you've been given. As you move forward, your example may inspire others, even if they don't understand at first. The key is consistency. Continue practicing the disciplines that brought you clarity: prayer, reflection, boundaries, and alignment. These habits will keep you grounded, especially when new challenges emerge. The spiritual journey is not linear. There will be cycles, moments of growth, pause, tension, and release. But each cycle brings you closer to your purpose. And each removal, though painful, is a step toward greater peace and fulfillment. What you're walking through right now is not just a season of loss. It is a season of alignment. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. The very fact that these changes are happening is evidence that you're progressing, not regressing. So continue with confidence. What's being removed is not for your harm. It's to create space for something more aligned, more supportive, and more reflective of your highest potential. As you continue into this next phase of your journey, it becomes increasingly clear that the losses you've experienced were not just events, they were signals. Signals that your environment, relationships, and even your internal landscape needed to be restructured. This process of restructuring is not punishment, but refinement. You are being prepared not only for greater clarity, but for greater responsibility. With growth comes weight, and that weight is not meant to burden, but to stabilize. As your awareness expands, so too does your capacity to influence, to discern, and to make decisions that shape your future. But none of that can happen in environments that are rooted in confusion or relationships that are sustained by obligation rather than alignment. That's why the removal of certain people or situations, while difficult, is often the catalyst that allows your foundation to be rebuilt properly. It's only once the distractions are cleared that you can focus on the work that truly matters. And in this new space, your vision becomes clearer. This is when you begin to notice the patterns that once limited you. Repetitive cycles of doubt, dependency, or internal conflict that were fueled knowingly or unknowingly by the presence of misaligned influences. Now, without those influences in place, your spirit begins to stabilize. The emotional volatility fades. Your thoughts become more grounded. Your direction more focused. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are responding to purpose. One of the defining characteristics of this stage is emotional neutrality. That doesn't mean you don't feel, but that your emotions are no longer leading you off course. You experience them without being consumed by them. And this emotional stability becomes one of your most valuable assets, especially as you step into new roles, relationships, and responsibilities. The relationships that now enter your life will feel different. They won't require you to shrink, to explain yourself repeatedly, or to compromise your peace. Instead, they will support growth, mutual respect, and shared values. These connections won't be perfect, but they will be purposeful. And that's the key difference. You'll also begin to notice a new level of energy, not just physical, but spiritual and emotional. Where you were once drained, you'll now feel fueled. This is not accidental, it's a result of alignment. When your external life begins to match your internal values, the energy you expend is returned as growth, fulfillment, and peace. But with this newfound energy comes the responsibility to use it wisely. Not every opportunity needs your attention. Not every conversation requires your correction. Discernment will continue to be your guide. The most important discipline in this stage is maintenance, maintaining your alignment, your peace, and your focus. This is not about perfection. It's about sustainability. Can you stay grounded while the world around you changes? Can you continue to walk your path even when others question or criticize it? Can you remain faithful to the vision, even in uncertainty? This is where your spiritual maturity is tested. Not in the absence of challenges, but in your response to them. And part of that response is understanding that transformation doesn't happen once. It happens repeatedly, in layers. Each removal, each recalibration, each revelation brings you deeper into your purpose. You begin to see your past differently, not as a series of mistakes, but as a training ground. Every difficult relationship taught you something about boundaries. Every departure taught you something about trust. Every setback taught you something about resilience. These lessons are not wasted. They are embedded into your awareness and will serve you moving forward. As the clarity continues to grow, you'll also experience new forms of purpose-driven discomfort. Not the confusion that comes from misalignment, but the tension that comes with growth. New environments, new roles, and new people will challenge you, not to break you, but to expand you. Embrace this discomfort. It's a sign you're being stretched into your potential. At this point, your sense of identity will begin to evolve. You no longer define yourself by your past, your wounds, or your associations. You begin to see yourself as whole, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is aligned. This identity shift impacts everything. The way you speak, the way you show up, the way you set goals. You become intentional, strategic, and present. You are no longer surviving, you are building. And what you are building is not just for you, it's for those connected to your calling, your family, your community, your legacy. The changes you've made internally are now having external impact. You're not just growing, you're leading. This leadership may not always look like titles or public recognition. In many cases, it's quiet, consistent influence. It's the energy you bring into a space. It's the calm you maintain in crisis. It's the clarity you offer in confusion. These are the hallmarks of spiritual leadership, leading not through control, but through alignment. This is also the stage where divine timing becomes more visible. You'll start to notice how certain people arrive just when needed, how solutions appear just as challenges emerge, how the right door opens after the right one closes. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that you're in sync with something greater than yourself. But timing also requires patience. Not everything will happen at once, and not everything that happens will be immediately understandable. Your role is to stay aligned, stay available, and stay ready. There may still be moments of loss ahead, more changes, more shifts. But the difference now is that you recognize them for what they are: necessary transitions. Not threats, but indicators. Indicators that your journey is still active, still evolving, and still led by something beyond your own understanding. It's also important now to return to the principle of gratitude. Gratitude is not just about being thankful, it's about being grounded. It keeps you focused on what is working, what is growing, and what is unfolding, even when not everything is clear. Gratitude transforms the discomfort of change into appreciation for progress. As you build this lifestyle in alignment, you'll find that you no longer feel rushed. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're attracting them. And what's coming to you is not driven by desperation, but by direction. This shift is critical. It moves you from force to flow. You also become less attached to outcomes. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're no longer defining your worth by them. You show up, you do your part, and you trust that what's meant for you will arrive in due time. You'll also begin to hear internal guidance more clearly. Your intuition sharpens. You know when to step forward and when to pause. You know when to speak and when to remain quiet. This inner knowing becomes your compass. It doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it gives you confidence in navigating it. Now, as you reflect on everything that has been removed, the people, the roles, the environments, it's likely you'll feel a sense of closure. Not a forced one, but a peaceful acceptance that everything had its time and purpose. And now, so do you. Your current season is not just about what you're moving away from. It's about what you're moving into. A life of greater alignment, greater peace, and greater impact. A life that reflects your true values, your refined purpose, and your deepened awareness. You are not who you were before the removals began. You are more aware, more aligned, more stable. And that stability is what will carry you forward, not just in personal growth, but in the role you play in the lives of others. Now, more than ever, it's time to walk in this alignment with clarity, consistency, and calm confidence. What has been removed is behind you. What is ahead is not random, it is designed. So move forward with intention. Lead with humility. Protect your peace. And remain open to the next layer of growth. You are ready. Now that you've experienced the shift, it's important to begin living from this new level of awareness. What once felt familiar, old patterns, unhealthy dynamics, outdated goals, may no longer align with who you're becoming. And that's not only acceptable, it's necessary. This is the beginning of what can be described as a period of integration. In spiritual growth, integration is the process of applying what you've learned in a meaningful, sustainable way. It's not enough to simply recognize a transformation. You must also allow it to inform your choices, shape your boundaries, and guide your commitments. Many people experience moments of breakthrough, but fail to build structure around those insights. As a result, they drift back into former habits. Integration prevents this. It involves aligning your environment, your routines, and your relationships with your new inner state. Start by taking a close inventory of your life. Ask yourself, what still fits? What no longer serves you? Which spaces drain you, and which ones recharge you? These questions aren't about judgment. They're about discernment. Your current clarity allows you to make better decisions, not out of fear or pressure, but from a place of truth. For some, this may lead to significant lifestyle changes. It might mean shifting career paths, redefining friendships, or reprioritizing time. While these changes can feel disruptive, they're ultimately liberating. They free you from obligations that were based on who you used to be, not who you are now. At the same time, integration requires consistency. It's not about perfection. You don't need to have all the answers or execute every plan flawlessly. What's required is intention and ongoing commitment to alignment. When you catch yourself slipping into old thought patterns or behaviors, acknowledge it without judgment and return to center. You now know the cost of misalignment. You felt the exhaustion that comes from tolerating environments and relationships that are no longer meant for you. Let that memory strengthen your resolve to stay on course. One key to staying grounded is to develop new rhythms. These rhythms are the practical habits that keep you aligned, regular reflection, boundaries around energy use, intentional rest, and focused action. These simple practices reinforce the spiritual transformation you've undergone. Rest, in particular, is often undervalued in spiritual growth. But after significant transformation, rest is essential. It allows your body, mind, and spirit to recalibrate. In many cases, it's in rest that new clarity arrives, not in constant action. You may also notice that your capacity to hear internal guidance has improved. Intuition becomes more accurate. Spiritual insight becomes more accessible. This is not just a byproduct of growth. It's a tool for your ongoing development. When you sense internal resistance to a situation, listen. When you feel peace about a decision, honor it. You don't need to rush into the next chapter. In fact, this is a time for deliberate, steady movement. Avoid forcing outcomes. Instead, focus on creating space for new opportunities to unfold. In this way, your energy remains focused and receptive rather than scattered or reactive. As you continue walking in this clarity, it's important to remain open to continued refinement. Growth is not linear. It is layered. Each stage reveals the next. What feels like a conclusion is often just a pivot into deeper awareness. That's why humility is essential. When you stay open, you remain teachable. And teachability ensures that your transformation remains dynamic rather than stagnant. You don't reach a final version of yourself. You simply continue evolving. You'll also find yourself becoming more selective. Not out of pride, but out of necessity. The clarity you now have makes it easier to recognize what aligns and what doesn't. It's no longer difficult to say no, because you understand the cost of saying yes to what drains or distracts you. This new season requires stewardship, managing your energy, time, and gifts wisely. Everything you carry now is valuable, and it must be handled with care. Where before you may have tried to give everyone access to your life, now you'll protect your space more intentionally. This is not selfishness. It's stewardship. In this phase, you are also being positioned to lead, not necessarily in title or role, but in influence. Leadership in this context means being an example. Your transformation, when lived with integrity, becomes a silent invitation for others to begin their own. You don't need to convince anyone of your growth. Simply living it will speak louder than anything you say. Over time, others will recognize the peace you carry, the wisdom you speak with, and the stability you offer, and they'll ask questions. They'll want to know how you arrived where you are. That's when your story becomes service. Not a platform for ego, but a tool for encouragement. Your vulnerability, when shared from a healed place, becomes someone else's roadmap. You can now speak from experience, not just theory. And experience carries weight. But remember, you are not responsible for everyone's journey. While your story can inspire, transformation is a personal decision. Offer insight without attachment. Guide without pressure. Share, but do not overextend. You are a light, not a savior. As your influence grows, so too will your awareness of impact. Every decision you make, how you spend your time, how you show up, how you respond, contributes to a larger ripple effect. This is where a legacy is formed, not through grand gestures, but through consistent alignment. The legacy you're building now is rooted in presence. When you live from clarity, peace, and purpose, you leave a lasting impression on those around you. Whether you realize it or not, you're shaping the culture of your home, your relationships, and your community. You've likely already begun to notice this. Conversations become deeper. Time with loved ones feels more intentional. Even small moments carry weight. This is what it means to live from a place of alignment. You're no longer rushing through life. You're participating in it fully. Over time, you may be called to expand your reach. This could take many forms: mentorship, teaching, service, or leadership in new spaces. You won't need to force this expansion. It will happen naturally as you remain faithful to your own growth. As this happens, you'll need to revisit your boundaries often. Just as you outgrew old relationships, you may outgrow old versions of yourself. Check in regularly. Does this still align? Is this still worth my energy? Am I still honoring the person I'm becoming? This type of regular self-inquiry is essential. It prevents complacency and keeps you aware of subtle misalignments before they grow into major detours. This is part of the lifelong work of remaining centered and grounded in purpose. And when new challenges arise, as they inevitably will, you'll meet them with a different posture. You'll no longer see obstacles as threats, but as tests. And you'll face them with confidence, knowing that you've been prepared. You've done the work. You have the tools. You'll also notice a deeper capacity for peace. Not the absence of difficulty, but peace in the midst of it. This is one of the greatest fruits of spiritual maturity. The ability to remain calm, clear, and connected even when things are uncertain. This peace is not passive, it's powerful. It allows you to make thoughtful decisions, offer steady leadership, and hold space for others without losing yourself. It's a peace that stabilizes not just you, but everyone around you. In this space, gratitude becomes your default. Not because everything is easy, but because you recognize the significance of each moment. You see every challenge as a chance to grow, every person as a potential teacher, every experience as a step on your path. This is when life begins to feel deeply purposeful. Even the mundane becomes meaningful. You're no longer just surviving, you're thriving with awareness, clarity, and intention. And this is where we close, not with finality, but with continuation. Your journey doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. A new chapter is opening, one rooted in alignment, led by purpose, and sustained by clarity. You have let go of what no longer served you. You have embraced the discomfort of transformation. And now, You are positioned to live from a place of power, not power over others, but power within. This is the reward for your obedience to the process. This is the fruit of your willingness to trust when things didn't make sense. This is what it means to walk as someone who is not only aware but aligned. So go forward with quiet strength. Let your life reflect the depth of your transformation. Lead without noise. Influence without pressure. Build without fear. And most of all, live fully. You were not chosen for chaos. You were chosen for clarity, for impact, for growth. Honor that calling by continuing the journey with faith, discipline, and intention. Because what lies ahead is not just a future. It is a legacy in the making. Chosen one, if this message resonated with you, if it helped bring clarity to what you've been feeling, experiencing, or preparing for, then now is the time to take aligned action. This isn't just a video. It's a reflection of the shift you're undergoing and a confirmation that your transformation is not only real, but necessary. You've come through the removal, the testing, and the realignment. Now it's time to stand firm in the new foundation that has been built within you. Start by acknowledging your growth. Then, make a commitment to continue walking this path with purpose. Set your intentions clearly. Evaluate your circle honestly. And protect your energy consistently. If you're ready to keep growing, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future messages designed to support your spiritual journey. These aren't just uploads, they're tools to help you stay aligned, focused, and clear. Like this video if it brought peace or understanding to your current season. It lets us know these messages are helping you and others like you. And comment below with the word "ready" to affirm your commitment to the journey ahead. Your words may also inspire someone else who needs the same encouragement today. You're not walking this path alone. Others are rising with you quietly, intentionally, and with power. You are part of a much larger alignment that is unfolding across generations. Trust the process. Stay faithful to your growth. And remember, you were not chosen by accident. You were chosen for impact. Asterisk.